Investing in the stock market is safe. It is when you think about the fact that what you leave in a savings account is being eaten by inflation and has less and less buying power the more time you leave it in there, versus investing in the stock market beats inflation by far, and your money not only grows, it gains buying power. But before we even get into all of that, before you get into the market, you need to master these 5 things, and I can help you with it. Let's talk about it. Investing doesn't start with stocks. It starts with this first. Let's break it down together. A lot of people ask me about what stock should I get into. I don't even know where to start with the stock market. And you actually do not need to start with the stock market. What you need to start with first is your mindset. I know that for me, just breaking down the mindset that I couldn't understand this stuff, that it was too complicated for me to get, that I needed a lot of money, all these things that were in my head about the stock market, those are the things that I needed to tackle first in order to become more successful as a long-term investor in the stock market, or give myself the confidence to even invest in the stock market in the first place. So the first thing that we need to tackle is mindset. I know in my community, I will be doing things around my book. My book is called Strip, A Stripper's 20 Life Winning Lessons, because actually to make money in the club, I had to deal with a lot of limiting beliefs that I had around money. I had to deal with a lot of tackling being able to discuss money, talk about money, lots of money things. So my book will help you tackle mindset around money. So because that really is the first thing that needs to happen. The second thing that needs to happen, quite honestly, is knowing that there is peace and clarity in knowing exactly what is coming in and what is coming out. So, for example, for me, I used to always freak myself out about money, never thinking that I had enough, saying that, I would automatically tell myself I couldn't afford things like going on a trip or buying a certain thing or taking a certain class, whatever it might be. I'll be like, oh, I can't afford that. And it wasn't until that I actually started tracking my numbers that I realized that most of the time when I was freaking out, there wasn't anything to freak out about. I wasn't making oodles of money. I was an actor in New York after all, right? I was a performer, a bartender. But I certainly wasn't in the dire straits that my mind had me thinking that I was in. And there was such peace and clarity in the numbers. The truth is in the numbers. I'm actually going to be doing a poll in Wealth Wisdom for Women, my community, to see if the ladies want to either do a challenge where we just write down, don't change anything about how we spend. We just write down everything that we spend and then take a look at it at the end of a few weeks or a few months and compare that to the money that we had coming in. Or if we want to do a co-working session where we just take our checking account and look at 3 months, 90 days of what went out and what went in, put it into categories so that we have some clarity, some actual honesty about what actual money we have coming in and what actual money we have going out. So tell me what you would prefer in the comments. Tracking challenge or tracking co-working session where we all sit on Zoom and just work and then have a little conversation and Q&A afterwards. So let me know in the comments which you think would be better, tracking challenge or a tracking co-working session, because there really is peace and clarity in the numbers. The third thing is, I would say, is tackling debt. And I know it can seem like sometimes, especially if you get trapped in credit card debt, that number can seem insurmountable. I know, because before 2006, I found myself where I had really good credit. And so credit cards just kept giving me higher limits and higher limits. And I was working at clubs, so I was making great money. And I was spending money on my credit cards, but I wasn't paying them off in full every month. And I found myself in a trap. And I had to work really hard to get out of it, but I got out of it. And I haven't done that to myself since 2006. Now, if I use credit cards, I have it connected to my checking account so that it is paid off in full every month. So what that means is I am not allowed to pay for anything on my credit card that I don't already have the cash for. But tackling debt is the third thing that you need to do in order to put yourself in a position where you can even invest in the stock market, because that money that's being eaten by 20, 24, 28% interest, whatever crazy number it is, that's your money for your future self that you're giving away to the credit card company. So it really is important to do whatever sacrifices you need to do to start working on that debt. And it could take you a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, depending on how much debt you have. It can take a while, but it's not impossible, and it should be done, because there's your money leak. There's the money that you could be putting into the market, and instead of getting charged 20 something percent interest, you could be making 10 or 20% interest in the market for yourself, right? So that's number 3. Number 4, I would say, is getting an emergency fund. And now, if you're like, I am using all of my money, I have no extra. People have asked me what I thought about Acorn and Stash. I've actually used Acorn in the past in order to save up an extra month's rent. And so I think that if you feel like you're limited on funds, that something like an Acorn or Stash can be a good way to slowly get yourself that $1,000 emergency fund. That is the first step for your emergency fund. Get $1,000 that is put aside in case any of life things happen. There's a statistic that most Americans couldn't withstand a $400 emergency. So imagine having $1,000 set aside for anything that may come up. That is the initial step in emergency fund. The second step is you want to get to a point where you slowly accumulate 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So 3 to 6 months of living expenses is the ultimate goal for an emergency fund. But let's just start with getting $1,000 put aside somewhere where if life we at least have that. Yeah. And the fifth thing is I'm going to give you some homework. The fifth solution for how you get involved in the stock market is read. One of the things that frustrates me about the financial independence movement is that so many people have read A Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, which is an amazing book, and it is a simple way to get to wealth, right? But it is not the only way, and I find that these people don't like to read, and it's fine. You can totally read A Simple Path to Wealth and just do that. That is totally valid. That's totally fine. I'm just a little bit more nosy. I like doing research, and so I like to read. But in the vein of keeping things simple, because you may just be starting out in the stock market, your homework is read about broad-based, low-fee index funds and ETFs, exchange-traded funds. All right, so please put in the chat, I'm going to do my homework, so that I know that you're actually going to take action to get yourself closer to not being intimidated and confused about the stock market and not thinking you can understand the lingo. Those are your first 2 vocabulary words to learn. Say, I am going to do my homework. I want you to Google index funds. I want you to Google exchange traded funds. I want you to YouTube index funds. I want you to YouTube exchange traded funds. Put into the search broad-based low-fee index funds, broad-based low-fee exchange-traded funds, and read about it. And come back into this video and put one thing that you learned about them in the comments. All right? If you are with me, please put I'm going to do my homework in the chat for me, please. So those are 5 solutions that I have for you if you are super intimidated about getting involved in the stock market. Those are 5 steps that you can take to get started. I'll give you a bonus step, which is get in community with other people who are learning and like-minded and want to get over this hurdle of being intimidated and confused and want to go into being confident and taking action and executing, get in community with people who are on that same journey, such as my Wealth Wisdom for Women community on School. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Ooh, what was that with my voice? In fact, when you sign into that group, that is where you can get, I have a free 90-minute class, which will explain the stock market to you in very simple terms. I promise you, even if you know nothing, you will understand more. Most people that take my class tell me that they're starting off at a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 in understanding the stock market. And after they take the class, they're usually at a 7, 8, or 9. So even if you understand nothing, I promise I make it simple enough for anyone to understand. So grab that free 90-minute class. The link is down below. And I will see you in the next video where I will answer some questions that have been coming in. But I wanted to give you some solutions and ways that I could help you. I am Essence Revealed, and I am on this journey from actor to tractor, trucking my way to financial independence and life and location freedom, so that other women over 40 can see that it's never too late to try something new, whether it's driving a big old 18-wheeler or investing in the stock market, no matter where you are starting.